You wonder what his name is, where he came from, if he was really evil at heart.
Do you know Sam said this in the book? Well, he didn't actually say it, he thought it. But this video is just going to be really simple. It's going to be a video on how sometimes the smallest, seemingly most insignificant changes that a movie makes can often be the hardest ones to accept, or the ones that subtly change a character and how we think of a character. And this essay might be ridiculous, but it is just a simple reaction to the first time we meet Faramir in the movie versus the book, and how that makes a world of difference to his character. In the movie, he seems scared, but capable. In the book, he just laughs at a joke. And then there's some stuff that comes after it, but I'll get there. And I don't think I've ever really been ready to talk about a character like I've been ready to talk about Faramir, because I think I already love him from even before I read him on the page. On this whole few-month-long journey of reading Lord of the Rings for the first time in my life, and to plug to subscribe if you want more essays on my thoughts on this book. But one of the things I've gotten over and over in the comments after I've written essays on some of my favorite characters, or why I love certain people, especially on Boromir or even Gimli, I write all sorts of essays about why I love them so much. I just keep getting one comment: wait till you meet Faramir. And as I was reading the chapter of Herbs and Stewed Rabbit, I knew that the meeting was coming because this is where it happens in the movie, and I know it's probably somewhat similar. And so I just kept growing in my anticipation and excitement of meeting him. And I think some of this is honestly just me ready to fall in love with a character that everyone else loves. But I think from the moment Faramir and I locked eyes on the page, it was love at first sight. And at this moment, this is just a preliminary essay, because I think the next chapter, which is I think the Window on the West chapter, that is kind of where we'll meet Faramir more. That's what I'm guessing. I'm going to read that actually later today. And that's where we meet him. So I'll write a longer essay about him then, and if I like him or dislike him there. But I just wanted to throw out some of my preliminary thoughts for why I think he's already a great character, because the first thing he does when we meet him is he laughs. It's small, but already this guy knows how to have a good time. I think that single thing communicates so much about this character. And more than that, the laugh comes at a really tense moment when Sam and Frodo are captured by the Men of Gondor. And so Faramir laughing at a joke of Sam's really relieves all the tension in the room. This is what happens in the book, and I just kind of want to read this. 4 tall men stood there. 2 had spears in their hands, with broad, bright heads. 2 had bows, almost of their own height, and great quivers of long, green feathered arrows, and their swords at their sides, and were clad in green and brown of various hues, as if the better to walk unseen in the glades of Ithilien. Green gauntlets covered their hands, and their faces were hooded and masked with green, except for their eyes, which were very keen and bright. At once Frodo thought of Boromir, for these men were like him in stature and bearing, and in their manner of speech. We have not found what we sought, said one. But what have we found? Not orcs, said another, releasing the hilt of his sword, which he had seized when he saw the glittering of sting in Frodo's hand. Elves? Said a third, doubtfully. Nay, not elves, said the fourth, the tallest, and as it appeared, the chief among them. ... This is probably Faramir. Elves do not walk in Ithilien these days. And elves are wondrous fair to look upon, or so 'tis said. Meanin' we're not, I take ye, said Sam. Thank you kindly, and when you've finished discussing us, perhaps you'll say who you are, and why you can't let 2 tired travelers rest. The tall green man laughed grimly. I am Faramir, captain of Gondor, he said. But there are no travelers in this land, only the servants of the Dark Tower, or of the White. Now, I don't know why, but someone who can find levity in situations like this are more trustworthy to me than people who can't. I loved this little moment here, and I think this changes the character of Faramir. But I think there are also a few other reasons why I loved him too. I think in literature and even movies, the smallest little actions that happen in a character can really change that character. Faramir moving from someone who's dead serious in the movies, who kills this person on this elephant, and then who all of a sudden says this statement that really wasn't given to him in the book, but was given to Frodo. And then all of a sudden him like acting a lot more serious about these things is so much different from Faramir laughing at a little joke that Sam says, where he's offended that they've insulted his appearance, that he's not fair to look at. I think just small little things like that compound on each other and they change characters radically. I think one really clear example of this is someone like Neville Longbottom, where they changed a few little small things in Neville's character or gave him certain lines, and that totally radicalized his character and changed his character. I think the same thing could be true of Ron Weasley, who is like nothing in the movies, but he's an incredible character in the book. And Faramir, who's actually able to laugh right before a significant battle, is a really important change of impressions for this character. And it shows so much in the character choices that they end up going on to become. Because in the movie, Frodo trusts Faramir. But in the book, he almost immediately trusts him because maybe of this laugh. Because he essentially just gives way too much information to Faramir right off the rip. After they talk about Gollum for a little bit and about how he snuck past them, Frodo says this: "But as for us, we are hobbits of the Shire, far to the north and west, beyond many rivers. Frodo, son of Drogo, is my name, and with me is Samwise, son of Hamfast, a worthy hobbit in my service. We have come a long ways, out of Rivendell, or Imladris as some call it. Here Faramir started and grew intent. 7 companions we had. One we lost at Moria," which is wild that they don't know Gandalf is alive. That's like kind of a thing that you almost glance past in the movies a little bit. But it goes on. "The others we left at Perith Gallon above Rhoros. 2 of my kin, a dwarf there was also, and an elf, and 2 men. They were Aragorn and Boromir, who said that he came out of Minas Tirith, a city in the south." "Boromir!" all 4 men exclaimed. "Boromir, son of the Lord Denethor?" said Faramir. And a strange stern look came into his face. "You came with him. That is news indeed, if it be true. Know, little stranger, that Boromir, son of Denethor, was High Warden of the White Tower, and our Captain General. Sorely do we miss him. Who are you then, and what had you to do with him? Be swift, for the sun is climbing." "Are the riddling words known to you that Boromir brought to Rivendell?" Frodo replied. "Seek for the sword that was broken. In Imladris it dwells." "The words are known indeed," said Faramir, in astonishment. "It is some token of your truth that you also know them. Aragorn, whom I named, is bearer of the sword that was broken," said Frodo. "And we are the halflings that the rhyme spoke of." "That I see," said Faramir thoughtfully. "Or, I see that it might be so. And what is Isildur's bane?" "That is hidden," answered Frodo. "Doubtless it will be made clear in time." "We must learn more of this," said Faramir. "And know what brings you so far east, under the shadow of yonder." He pointed and said no name. "But not now. We have business in hand. You are in peril, and you would not have gone far by field or road this day." Now, Frodo gives him way too much information in this little section, in my opinion, for not really knowing this character at all. But again, this initial impression is so small, but so important to the setting up of these characters. Again, because in the movie, Faramir looks scared. He looks like intimidated. He still looks like he's in charge, and it looks like his men respect him, but he looks a little bit fearful. In the book, he is leading the men into the battle, charging at the enemy, doing the same thing that his brother does, yelling Gondor as he charges. So he seems like a man of much more significant courage. And I think one significant change that I'm already sensing is that he is not insecure. In the movies, you have this insecurity that he has. In the books, he seems very confident in who he is. So I'm glad Faramir is somewhat similar to his brother in the charges that he does and all these things. But this essay is just a simple essay to talk more about Faramir and just my first impressions of him laughing at Sam's comment here to say that this sets him up to be a much more interesting character, I think. I think this insecurity that the movie plays on is just very different from this confident person that we see in the book. And it's those small little changes that can then compound on each other. Because if you're going to make a change right there, those changes are going to then carry on into how you portray these characters in the future. And they might have just gone too far with Faramir for what his first impression was, that they said, we can't come back from this, so we have to make him like, a very scared, nervous kind of character who doesn't really trust in himself, who doesn't really know what's right. I think in the book, it just depicts him as confident, knowing what is right and wrong clearly in this instance. And I'm really curious to see in the next few chapters, as we get to know him, if this will persist or if he will maybe recede into himself, what his relationship with his father is like. I'm really curious about all this stuff. But that is that's probably an essay for next week, because I'm going to read The Window into the West this week, probably today, which today is a Thursday. This video is probably going to come out on the weekend. And I'm going to read that chapter, and then I'm probably going to write an essay about Faramir, because I think we'll know more about Faramir as the chapter goes on. But thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more content about Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, all the other nerd stuff. Lots of book stuff on this channel. And I will see you in the next one.